Many Dexcom G6 users, including you and me, make mistakes. And we need to talk about them because if you avoid these mistakes, you will save money, time and energy. Let's go! I'm Tom, I've been a type 1 diabetic for over 30 years and I've been using Dexcom G6 as my daily driver for the past 9 months. The G6 system is a great piece of technology and it can help you dramatically improve your blood sugar control. But it can take some time to make friends with Dexcom G6. I've experienced a few challenges with this system. It wasn't always giving me accurate blood sugar numbers, the sensor adhesive was peeling off, I was losing connection between the sensor and my phone, and I was getting annoying alarms and error messages way too often. I was really frustrated, and if you are too, I feel you. But I asked myself, am I not making a mistake somewhere? Is there something I can change or do differently? And there were a few things. I'm gonna share the worst mistakes I made and things that I see other Dexcom G6 users doing wrong. And if you are making any of these mistakes too, I'll show you how to fix them and how to get the most out of your Dexcom G6 sensor. Mistake number 1 is keeping your receiver too far away from the sensor. Dexcom says that there can be up to a 6-meter distance between the transmitter and the receiver. But it's not quite like that, because when you place the sensor with the transmitter on your left arm, for example, and your receiver, be it your insulin pump or your mobile phone, in your right pocket of your pants, you might be losing the connection. It was happening to me quite a lot. And since I found out about this problem, I tried to keep the transmitter with the sensor and my receiver on the same side of my body, especially when I sleep or when I go for a walk, because these are the two situations when I was losing the signal the most. Mistake number 2 is not using the calibration feature of Dexcom G6 correctly. The calibration feature helps you to calibrate the sensor readings to your fingerstick readings in situations where your readings are way off. You just go to settings in your Dexcom G6 app, click calibrate and then enter your blood sugar value. But wait, not too fast, because if you calibrate well, you will make things better and you will get more accurate readings. But if you calibrate incorrectly, you will make things a lot worse. And here are a few tips for a successful sensor calibration that worked for me. Tip number 1, never calibrate during the first 24 hours, because the readings during the first day, and for me personally, especially during the first 6 to 8 hours when I have a new sensor on, the readings are way off. It's not ideal, I know, but if you calibrate the sensor during these first few hours, you will mess things up. Trust me, I've been there. You might even break the sensor because the sensor will get into a calibration loop and it will never recover. So don't calibrate during the first few hours. From my experience, the readings always get way closer on the second day, and the second day is a much better time to calibrate the sensor if needed. Tip number 2, keep in mind that not only your sensor but also your glucometer can be up to 20% off from the blood sugar result that you would get from a lab. So don't calibrate when the difference between your glucometer and your sensor is less than 20%. This table from Dexcom shows the acceptable range of sensor readings. If you are within this range, you probably don't need to calibrate. Tip number 3, when you decide to calibrate, make sure that the blood glucose from your finger prick is as accurate as possible, like if your life depends on it. So do all the things we should all be doing, but we never do. Check that your test strips are not expired. Wash your hands with soap, dry them with a clean towel, and get a new lancet. Don't look at me like that. I know you haven't changed it for a long time. Only calibrate when your blood glucose is stable and when your arrow is pointing horizontally to the right, not when your arrow is pointing up or down. When your blood glucose is changing quickly, you will never be able to calibrate it because, as you probably know, the sensor is taking readings from the interstitial fluid, which is lagging approximately 10 minutes behind the readings from blood. So if you calibrate in those moments when your glucose is moving sharply up or sharply down, the blood glucose is already ahead of the sensor and the calibration will never work as good as it would if you are stable. Tip number 5, don't calibrate after you just ate, took insulin, did exercise, or light on the sensor, because all these things can impact the readings and can make the readings move quite fast, and so you will not be stable after these activities and you will not be able to calibrate effectively. Another mistake I was making was, believe it or not, placing the sensor on my abdomen, although it is one of the FDA approved sites. When I put the sensor there, the adhesives kept coming off all the time and the sensor just wouldn't stay on. Now we all have different body shapes and we all live different lifestyle, so abdomen can be a perfect site for you, but it didn't work for me. I sweat quite a bit in that area and my belly is just not big enough yet to create a nice flat side for the sensor adhesive to stick well. So abdomen is a big no-no for me and my Dexcom G6. Upper arm is much better. By the way, I have another video where I talk about 7 different Dexcom G6 sites and which one is my favorite. I will link it here and in the description below if you want to check it out. Mistake number 4 I was making is not taking full advantage of all Dexcom G6 features. And in my opinion, there are 3 key features that make Dexcom G6 stand out and that make it a perfect piece of technology. Number 1 is blood sugar readings on your watch, and this is a big one for me. Since I installed the Dexcom G6 app, I can check blood sugar readings and graph on my Apple Watch. And it's so much more convenient than having to pull up my phone all the time. I noticed that since my blood sugar readings were available on my Apple Watch, I've been checking a lot more often, and that's a good thing. Another great feature that helped me massively increase my time in range is alerts. But the alerts can get really annoying. One mistake I made at the beginning is I wanted to use all the alerts available and I set them too aggressively because I had really high expectation. And so I was getting alerts a lot and it was driving me crazy. I almost started ignoring them. And over time I learned I should not be using all the alerts that are available there, and I should not set them too aggressively. I should set them to fit my lifestyle so that they don't bother me too much. As an example, if you know that you are only taking an action if your blood sugar reaches 240 milligrams per deciliter, you should not be setting your high alarm at 180. You don't need to know about it because you are not planning to do anything about it. Getting the alarm set up correctly makes a big difference and really improves the quality of your life rather than bothering you all the time and driving you crazy. And the third absolutely great feature of Dexcom G6 system is that it integrates with Control IQ. And I have been using the Control IQ algorithm powered by Dexcom G6 and my Tandem T-Slim X2 insulin pump for about half a year. It has been a game changer for me. It's like my little diabetes buddy, a little diabetes co-pilot. Some people don't even know about the Control IQ integration, and I still owe you a video about Control IQ. I know, and I'm working on it. Before I get to the next mistake I've been making, I want to encourage you. Take advantage of all the features available with Dexcom G6. Don't miss out on some of the components of the system, because if you use them, they will make your life so much easier. My mistake number 5 was not using the correct sensor code during activation. In one of my previous videos, I show you 2 ways to restart the Dexcom G6 sensor. And I also said that you can use any 4-digit Dexcom sensor code to restart your sensor. Well, I want to take this back and I want to apologize because this is another mistake that I've been making. We should always be using the 4-digit code that is printed on each individual sensor inserter to activate each individual sensor. I learned that the reason why each Dexcom G6 sensor has a 4-digit code has something to do with calibration that is done in the Dexcom factory. And I assume that each individual code on the Dexcom inserter tells the Dexcom algorithm where on the calibration scale the specific sensor is and how it should read the data. So using a wrong sensor code could lead to inaccurate readings. But if you want to know how to restart your Dexcom G6 sensor and how to use it for 10 more days, then click on the video on the screen right now. If you found this video helpful, then hit the like button, and if you want to support me, join as a channel member or subscribe to my Patreon. This is the best way you can thank me. Thanks for watching. Ciao.